If there's one boat that I've been asked for more than any other, by far, it's for a tour on a silent catamaran. These are solar powered, electric drive, absolutely fantastic. I've been asked so many times for a tour of one of these, and I've tried so many times, and finally we're doing it. We're getting on board one down in Palma at the boat show, and this is going to be the full tour, and we're going to show you what solar powered boating looks like. So we're going to step on board via this passerelle, and what we will do is take a tour of the decks first of all, and then a tour of the interior, and I'll explain what this is all about. Now, the reason that these are catamarans is twofold. Firstly, they're very efficient because you just have two narrow, almost like blades in the water, so very little drag resistance, but also a colossal amount of space because it gives you huge amounts of beam. That's very much a catamaran kind of thing, and you can see it. I mean, look at these side decks, they're absolutely vast. When you walk around these, I mean, you can just sort of skip from side to side, they're huge. These are over the cabins. We'll see the cabins in a moment when we go inside, but this is nice. It's a little area here where you can sit on the side of the boat, and in fact the galley is behind here. This opens, and so you can access straight through to the galley to grab yourself a coffee in the morning or whatever. That's a nice little space. I like the lights they put in the overhang as well. And if we wander up here, the reason that I'm showing you the outside first of all is because the big news with silent cruisers is the solar panels. Look at this. Right the way across there. We'll see them again on the top. We're going to have a look at there in a minute, and at the back. There's about 10 kilowatt peak of power being pulled in from those. So in absolutely perfect conditions, you'd be getting up towards that figure. The reality is normally something like about sort of 60%, so about 6 kilowatt power being brought in per hour, and that's a lot. And we'll talk about how that affects the cruising capability of these when we go inside and look at the engines. But let's have a look up here first of all. So you've got these two lovely relaxing areas. These are directly above the water because of course the hulls, in fact you'll see it better if I walk down here, you can see the hulls are actually down there. So this is basically sort of hovering over the water, which is lovely. You've got the anchor in the center here, so this one opens up. There we go, you can see the anchor down in there. And this one's got the front access. This is a front access version, and that means you've got to walk through straight into the cabin. We'll obviously have a look in there in a moment. This is actually hull number 7, so they've built a few of these now. They've been a popular boat. So wander around here, these are just huge storage voids. So if we open that one up, you'll see the fenders, warps, all that kind of stuff can all live down there out of the way. And if we take a stroll down this side again, you'll see those massive solar panel banks there. And we'll stroll back down through here. Now there's little seating areas on this side. The only difference is these are fixed windows on this side. And if we come right to the back, there's a sun pad on the back, and this one has got tender handling capacity using these hooks here. There's one there, one on the other side. So you hook on your tender, hook it on the other side as well. Obviously these dropped right down, and there's buttons there where you can winch the tender up underneath there. So that's how that works. And then underneath this one, drop that right up out the way. This is then getting into one of the engineering spaces, or technical spaces. So if we drop down into here, we've got things like, these are water makers here, so it can provide its own fresh water. And then you've got various pumps and hot water tank and all that kind of stuff. Some of the Victron systems are in here as well. That's these fellas here. So that's all tucked away in there. I'll show you the battery banks as well, because they're obviously quite interesting, but they're accessed from inside. So let's drop that one back down. There we go. And now we'll head on in and I'll show you the interior. Now what's nice is with that front opening, you've got tremendous airflow through here, which is really nice. It's a galley aft layout, so that's over here on this side. You've got all the usual bits and pieces, so you've got your ceramic hob, the sink of course. There's actually a dishwasher in this one. The oven is over on that side, and then there's a massive fridge freezer over here as well. American style where you can have the ice out of here and that kind of stuff. So that's a really good size. It is the kind of boat that you can go away and spend some time on because, of course, you're generating your own power. So the ability to stay at anchor for, you could stay weeks at a time if you have the right sort of conditions. So the storage is quite important from that point of view. If we walk up through here, then we've got the saloon area. There's a height adjustable table on this side, and the lower helm is over here. You might notice that there is no steering wheel. You steer with this little rudder here. So that's how that works, because these boats basically, when you're manoeuvring in harbour, you're mostly using the engines. When you're out at sea, you're mostly using the autopilot. So that just gives you rudder control for the odd occasion that you need it. 2 bow thrusters, because of course there's 2 hulls. So they operate a thruster in each hull. And now we're starting to get into the nitty gritty, because this is giving us some of the battery condition situations here. You can see what's coming in and what's going out. Now we've got all the lights on, we've got the fridge on, we've got everything else on. When I first came on this boat about 20 minutes ago, this was running at 76% of battery capacity available. It's now up to 80%. So even with all these lights and fridge and everything else on, it's actually gaining power, and that's on a grey day, because it's certainly not sunny today, as you've probably noticed. All the switch gear here, of course, and all the usual bits and pieces, autopilot and so forth, all controlled from there. And then up here, you've got what's like a day bed, really lovely place to relax, chill out, tuck yourself away with a good book. But again, it's the space. Being a catamaran, it's just huge in here, absolutely vast. Now the actual cabins, they're down in the hulls. I'll just show you this as we're going past it, but this is the distribution panel. So circuit breakers and all that kind of stuff, all the electronics are all there. 12 volt system, 24 volt system, 230 volt system. That's where all that is switched from. Now if we go down here, we're dropping down now into one of the hulls. And this one is, I think I'm right in saying, the master cabin. Now it's slightly unusual, it's a very high bed on this one. We believe that this is a customer spec to get more storage underneath. I think normally these are a bit lower. But so you get reasonable headroom on top of that, but the reality is you probably have this a bit lower normally, and you wouldn't need quite the steps up to it. We're down, as I say, inside the hull, so you can see the hull form coming down like this, but still a reasonable amount of space in here because of the way they've gone in and round and across. That's rather neat. And there's storage in, so this is the door for this cabin that slides across like that, and then your storage is in behind here, so drawers, for example, hanging locker, and so forth. And then light switches are here, air conditioning controls, and the ensuite. So that's in here, and we've got a separate shower just over on that side. So we come back out of here, slide that one back open, and come back up. So that's one cabin. If we drop then over to this stairway, so these have all got their own individual accesses, which is nice. So this comes down here, and this then gives you another cabin. You can see the bed's a bit lower in this one. And again, similar sort of deal. You've got the storage in behind here. So you've got hanging locker here, you've got drawers down underneath, and the bed at a rather more sensible height in this one. And then of course the whole windows here, they've got the blinds down at the minute. That's one of those hatches that we saw when we were walking around the deck. And then all en suite, so this one has its heads tucked away in here. I love these bowls, these big leaves. That's fantastic. It's in glass, obviously. And then the shower as well, like so. So that's two of the cabins, and to find the other two, I believe it has, then we head over to the other side. But actually, before we do that, so they're both accessed down here and then that splits off, but I'm going to show you underneath here because, where's it gone? This one here is one of the 3 banks of batteries. There you go, check these out. So that is a 70 kilowatt hour bank of batteries, and there are 3 of those. So a huge amount of storage of electricity, because of course the whole boat runs from that. The engines, all the domestics, everything else. I think there's a generator on board as well, so you have got that as a backup, but but that's normally how you'd run the entire boat. So there's one of those there. There's another one, another two in fact, over on this side, down in behind here. So that's your power source, and a pretty impressive power source it is too. Let's drop that one back, and now we'll head down this side. Yeah, and this is where it splits off now. So you've got a cabin in both directions. If we head this way, first of all, we will find an ensuite in through here. Very similar deal with the shower at the end. And then up here, that's the bedroom, again with a fairly high bed. And then you've got storage tucked away in places like this. And drawers here as well, of course. And more storage underneath the bed. So what's that, cabin 3? Yeah. These close off then, instead of closing off that way, as we saw in other cabins, these have conventional doors here that shut off like so. And if we head on back, cabin number 4. Similar deal, you've got the heads tucked in here, shower in here, and there we go. And then if we come on back a bit further, then you can see another double bed. So these are all double cabins, all en suite, and the hanging locker in there. And while we're back here, we'll talk about the engines, because they live underneath the floor here. So if I lift that one up, let's take that right out of the way just for a moment. Put that down very carefully. There we go. That is one of the engines. There's one in each hull, of course. And those are actually 250 kilowatt engines. The truth is that when you're flat out, they actually run at about 150 kilowatts. So between the two of them, 300 kilowatts. Now, you're obviously going to give your batteries a fair old pasting. That's not how you would normally run. But it does mean you've got 17 knots of performance, which means that, you know, if the weather was picking up, you just wanted to get back and you just thought, okay, let's just cane the batteries for an hour and cover, 15 miles in an hour. Well, then you could do it if you wanted to. But the most efficient way of cruising this boat is 6 to 8 knots. That's where she normally runs. But the most interesting figure is 4 knots. Because at 4 knots, she's using 3 kilowatts each. So 6 kilowatts in total. And if you remember, we said that if you've got nice sunny conditions, you're going to get about 6 kilowatts plus out of that solar array on the top, which we haven't looked at properly yet. We must go up there in a moment. So if you've got 6 kilowatts going in and 6 kilowatts going out, what you've got effectively is perpetual motion. This will just run and run. I mean, obviously when it gets dark, it'll stop. But even then, you could run off of battery power that you have absorbed when the boat's not running. And that's a really interesting thing, because it's the first boat I've been on, other than the sailing boat, where there isn't really a range figure for you, because you get the speed and the conditions right, and it'll just run and run and run. Okay, let's pop that one back. There we go. And we will finish off up on the Flybridge, which is the only bit I haven't shown you, because we can have another look at those solar panels, and there's a couple of other interesting things to show you up there as well, actually. So, back out through here. We'll head up these steps. You'll notice this little interesting switch here, and I will explain that in just a moment. Up here is the Flybridge, and you'll notice it's all fairly low profile. You've got these backrests here sticking up, and not a lot else. Now, these backrests will drop flat. That console will also drop down, and that means that this bimini we've got here will drop down and then fill this whole area and create just one big flat top. So this whole Flybridge area, rather uniquely, can disappear. And if we have a wander around, this is the solar panels that we saw from the bow, and in fact there's a load more at the back, like so. And if that wasn't enough, take a look up here. So that is where all that juice is coming from, and this whole area, that switch that I pointed out as we came up, operates these. And so this whole thing will drop down flat. Once you've dropped down these backrests and that helm console, then you've got this as one big flat solar powered deck, or solar panelled deck, I should say. But of course, those solar panels are working anyway, even if it's raised up. They're still, you know, they're still there. They're still working. Some arrangement here. There's no wheel. There's just the rudder control for the autopilot. That's just there, so you can still steer the boat from here. As I say, most of the time you would be running on autopilot. There we go. We're still at 80% at the minute. And as I say, this is on a grey day with the band started up. So there we go. That is the Silent 55. Let's come back down here, away from that noise a little bit. And I think we'll finish off on the inside. Yeah, just here. I'm going to sit on this daybed. And I'm going to say massive thanks to Silent Yachts. We've been trying to get a Silent for ages. Everything's been against us, travel restrictions, COVID, you name it. We've lined this up a couple of times. So I'm so pleased to have finally brought this to you. And I've also noticed, as I say here, that's one bit I forgot to show you. This pulls out. If you want to work from home, that is a seat. There's a box on it at the minute, but that's a seat that comes out right out here. Got the carpet away, you need to move the carpet out of the way, and that gives you a desk. So you can sit there and work. Fantastic, eh? Let's all buy a Silent catamaran, head off and live for free. It's not quite for free, is it? But you know what I mean. It's pretty impressive, all that power from all those solar panels. That's brilliant. And I especially like the fact that, you know, at 4 knots in sunny conditions, she's completely running for free. She's just absorbing power and driving the yacht with it. That is remarkable. Anyway, huge thanks again to Silent Yachts, as I said, and huge thanks to you all for watching. And let me know what you think of this one. It's the one you've all been asking for, and I finally delivered. I'm so happy. Catch you on another one real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.